Good evening. I'm Brett Baer.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Martha McCallum. Welcome to Democracy 24 coverage of the Democratic National Convention. We are live here at the United Center in Chicago, where they are getting things off to a pretty lively start. We heard from AOC a short time ago. We just heard from Hillary Clinton. Obviously, she was the last woman who tried to beat Donald Trump, and she did not succeed in that quest. She's here to cheer on Kamala Harris tonight in hopes that she can do the same. At one point, the crowd started chanting, "Lock him up." I mean, that's also a familiar refrain that she remembers from last time around. We've got a great panel alongside us once again here. Brit Hume, Dana Perino, and Harold Ford Jr. Brit, we just heard from the former First Lady, former Secretary of State, former candidate for the presidency, Hillary Clinton.
A familiar voice took me back to 2016 and beyond. Not a place I was necessarily eager to go, but there it was. And so it does establish one thing, that there are still places in America where Hillary Clinton can go and receive a rousing reception. I'm not sure there are very many left, but this is one of them, and so she got it.
You know, earlier, Harold, you had Kamala Harris, the vice president, come out, a little surprise address to tee off the night. She said this is a night about realizing and recognizing President Joe Biden, and said there's a lot to do going forward.
He will be, President Biden will be the focus of the evening. I hope in his message this evening that he is less contentious and confrontational and is more cheerful and constructive about what he accomplished and why this race is so important. I think a lot of people have tried it tonight. I was struck, Brett, as I listened tonight. Remember the Republican events? You had 4 nights. You had 4 different themes each of those nights, and they seemed to really, really hew to those themes. Tonight is Joe Biden, and we'll see here these next few speeches if they really begin to set him up to come tonight to hand that baton off to Kamala Harris.
Yeah, we had themes, and the theme tonight is what happened to Joe Biden. I mean, tonight is about the extraordinary events that we have seen over the past 4 weeks. Joe Biden should have been the big Thursday night speaker here, Dana, but he's relegated to Monday night, and we're told he's going to be up and out of here right after he speaks.
The morning after the debate in June, Kamala Harris went on all the shows in the morning to defend Joe Biden and said he had a bad night, but he is the best person to be the president for the next 4 years. 2 weeks later, not even that, he was out. He was out because Nancy Pelosi said, "You are not going to destroy this party on my watch." Apparently now their lifelong friendship is at a bit of an impasse, as you can imagine. But what I thought was interesting about the Hillary Clinton speech is there's a lot of women in this room tonight, maybe not watching, but a lot of people in this room tonight thought she should be the first woman president. And that she was pretty gracious and enthusiastic in saying, let's do this for Kamala Harris. She's a good friend of Joe Biden as well. But just think, 6 weeks ago, we had stories about how there were donors in the Democratic Party who did not think she should continue to be on the ticket if he wasn't going to be on the ticket. And now you have this entire room all saying, we are for her, absolutely for her. And I thought that her speech was good. AOC's speech was good. There was so much of it that was just like nonsensical to me. But for this crowd, for this room, getting them ready for the next 78 days, they're doing a good job tonight.
You know, Britt, what is the purpose, do you think, of this week? You know, there is tight polls. Independents and moderates, they really want to try to go after them. But there is a big pull from the progressive part of this party. AOC getting that speaking position, one of the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, we should say, Congresswoman, is one of those indications.
And I think it's reflected as well in the fact that we don't have any detailed policy positions to speak of from Kamala Harris. We know, not from her, but from aides, that she's apparently in the process of abandoning positions she's taken that were probably too far to the left for national consumption.
From 2019.
From 2019 and maybe beyond. Whether she herself will do that in her remarks remains to be seen. But what I think this night reflects in this event in the place where she now stands, Kamala Harris now stands, is that Democrats are pretty good at making an emergency into an opportunity. And as you heard me say earlier, Brett, they had an emergency in 2016 when Bernie Sanders was about to run away from the nomination, and they turned to Joe Biden, who had lost everywhere in that primary season until the South Carolina came along. They got him through South Carolina with a big boost from James Clyburn, who is
speaking right now
as we speak here. And he went on, party fell in behind him, won the nomination, won the presidency against Donald Trump. now it's 4 years later. Suddenly they had an emergency when Joe Biden proved incapable of carrying on. It was pretty clear to anybody in their right mind that he couldn't possibly couldn't win, and certainly couldn't serve out another 4 years. Sudden emergency, they turned to Kamala Harris. And what happened both times? The Democratic Party has been described as a party when it comes to nominating presidents that falls in love. The Republicans are always thought of as a party that falls in line. Well, these Democrats, both this year and 4 years ago, fell in line pretty quickly behind somebody who appeared nowhere near getting ready to be nominated. Both Biden didn't, and Kamala Harris certainly didn't. And now here we are.
You know, Harold, today it was written that President Biden is still a little bit in shock and a little bit angry about what happened over the course of the last few weeks. And I guess one of the questions is, what can he accomplish tonight to bring the party back together? Are there any voters who are saying, I'm so upset about what happened to Joe Biden, I'm going to stay home, I'm not going to vote?
I don't think so. I think I read some of those reports. I'm not persuaded by those reports. I think that Joe Biden recognized a lot of what Brit just shared there. Had he performed better in that debate, we'd be having a different conversation today. Don't get me wrong. I think he wanted to be on this stage Thursday night accepting this nomination and battling in November. But I think he understands that the things he's fought for and achieved over the last 4 years and throughout his career, a lot of that was at stake. And if he didn't and he lost, he went forward and he lost, Democrats would likely blame him. I think for Kamala Harris, Brit said something also about the substance. There's not enough detail yet about what she wants to do and how she wants to do it. Tonight, Joe Biden saying what they have done together and how she's going to continue is an important first stop. He's got to be cheerful. He can't seem like he's upset about it, even if he is. And then we got to get on with the business of populating what we're going to do as a party, what she's going to do as president, and how we're going to make the lives of everyday Americans better. The only thing I'm struck a little bit about tonight, I wish we were talking more about people and talking more about how we're going to make lives better. And hopefully Joe Biden does a lot of that in the final speech tonight.
Isn't this a lot about Kamala Harris is, one, not former President Trump, and a lot of this race is about running against Donald Trump, the person. And two, she's not Joe Biden, and it's a fresh face, and the party is relieved to have somebody in the game.
Well, certainly, because if you saw that poll that 93% of Democrats are relieved that Joe Biden's no longer the nominee, think about that. You're coming into this hall tonight, and everyone has been told, you will clap, and you will give him a resounding send-off. And I think that's one of the reasons that Kamala Harris came here tonight. She wasn't expected to be here this evening, but she came, and what was her first message? She said, and I want to thank Joe Biden, and she just got the whole crowd going because she said we have to do something for him. I actually think that there's some affection there and respect and gratitude that she's had for him, but now she's going to have to figure out a way to say, and thank you, sir. See you out the door. Now, Donald Trump has a challenge in many ways. The media is not going to help him prosecute the case against her. She is figuring out a way to define herself in a way that is just amorphous. She wasn't there. When AOC just gave her speech, she said, if you are a person who had to come out of retirement because you couldn't afford your grocery prices, and Kamala's the one for you. And I thought, she's been there for 3 years. It's in the title, Biden-Harris administration. But for some reason, partly because of the media attention, and partly because this whole crowd is in here, they're saying she is different, she is unique, and she was not responsible for all of those things.
I just say one quick thing. She has Joe Biden to thank for the fact that in the second breath after he dropped out, he endorsed her, and he shortened this process dramatically. A lot of people wanted it to go on.
I think this party likes Joe Biden. I think people are going to be, it's genuine, the response he's going to get tonight. Remember, he's been in politics for 40 plus years, so we know him, we like him, but Brit said it best. He probably couldn't win in the fall, and there's an acknowledgement in this room, and he acknowledged it too by saying, I'm not going to run. So I think there's genuine affection for him.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.